I'm Andrew Williams, and this is Mark Sheeky, who's here to give us a reading from his new book, The Many Beautiful Worlds of Death.
Hello. Right. Shall I read a few words? Right. Pick a section. The ceiling light glowed zinc blue. The screen hissed a new image. It showed an actor playing the Roman Emperor Augustus. He was still, his face fixed and staring, dead. Immobile for minutes, hours, years, dead. George looked at the clock again. 2 little dots of turquoise light were intensely bright. A light of supreme smallness and supreme power. Born, died, born, died, born. The seconds slowed down, filled with eons of space. On. A spat of rain hit the glass, sending filaments of water running like a hand grenade of panic. A startled fly looked up to see the gigantic grid of a swatter hurtling down upon it, cascading through the air in an arc of terror and hatred. A newborn chick gaped and screamed. Its flapping mother arrived with a squirming worm. Adam was switched on for the first time. His circuit smelled of warm copper as his titanium irises slowly dilated into reflected consciousness. Kettles were boiled. Ships blessed, launched, retired and sank. School bells rang. Adam, now rusty, tripped and fell down some stone steps with a clutter. His squeaking right hand grated as it feebly opened, closed, opened, off, and the second fell away. The man in the life ring drifting and falling away beyond hope, beyond reach, and lost forever. Lost, gone, gone! That was an extract from chapter 3, I think.
Thank you. So, can you tell us, in your own words, what is the book actually about?
It's a sort of science fiction adventure which touches upon the philosophy of life and death and what it would feel like to face a terminal disease, really. It's a story of a man who's diagnosed with a terminal disease. He only has 6 weeks to live or something. But fortunately, he's invented a time and space machine in his basement, which can take him to any place and any location, even fantastical places like heaven and hell. And he uses it to try and locate a cure in those 6 weeks. And so it sort of asks the reader, what would you do if you only had 6 weeks to live? But of course, everyone has only a limited amount of lifetime. So really, it's about life itself, really, in many ways.
Okay. And if you were to have this time-space machine, where would you want to go?
It's a difficult. I'd probably go into the future just to explore things. That would be quite interesting, wouldn't it? And see new things. I'm always interested in new and undiscovered things and the fantastical. And I suppose much of the book is in a fantastical style and an imaginative style. So I'd want to explore something new that I'd not seen before. So I think that would be quite fun. Assuming it's a place where you can breathe and walk.
That would be important. You are also an artist and musician. Has the writing stemmed from anywhere from that, or do you think the writing is its own separate thing? Meshed together in some way? No, I think they are all related. My writing style is very visual. I tend to find it the easiest way to do. For a start, the novel itself was concepted almost unconsciously, really, really quickly, or conceived. I'm not sure concepted is a word. In an instant, and I quickly wrote down the path of events that would happen and the path of characters, and all the characters were designed to reflect different elements of psychology in the main character or in the reader. They're like all characters in a book, or like all characters in a dream, just represent different fragments of the psyche. And I wanted to write a book that did that too, so it's definitely a book that lends itself to the surreal sort of mental imagery sort of work that I like to paint visually. And the way I've written much of it was to picture a scene, picture what was happening, and then describe to the reader what it feels like to be in that picture. In fact, one reviewer commented that it was like being inside a fantastical painting to read, and that's the way I write. And I think it makes the novel much more immersive and makes the experience of reading much more real, more visceral. It paints a picture for the emotions, which I think stories should do. So it's definitely related to the other art forms I do, because I try to explore every sense
using words.
Who would you credit as influences for your writing and your artwork?
It's quite difficult, really, because there are very few fantastical works like this. I mean, much of the books I'd read as a child actually were all relatively imaginative, and all the Dr. Dolittle books and things, and Lord of the Rings and fantasy books like that, really. But for a story, this is much more visual and more like a film, and films like Terry Gilliam films seem to spring to mind, really, like Brazil or Time Bandits, something like that. And in fact, Time Bandits and the slightly surreal humour of Gilliam and the Monty Pythons may have been a stronger influence on it than any other literary source. And the same with paintings. I suppose as soon as you come up with a creative idea, then maybe there were myriad influences that led to it, but the actual creation process, what media you use and all the skill you need to create the words, create the images, create the sound, that's a separate process entirely from the original idea. So the idea stemmed from lots of sources, particularly surreal ones, but and even Ingmar Bergman, because it's the story is slightly related in many ways. It's the literary seventh seal, but the actual creation process and the writing style, it's probably something that evolved more from painting than words.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Well, yes. I'd like to mention the fact that when I put the book together, I wanted it to be extremely physical in style. I wanted to make a book that had a particular feel and look to it that made it different from an e-book. I mean, lots of research into neurology and the science of reading indicates that all of the different tactility of a real book compared to an electronic book makes it more memorable. It makes it affect your brain much more.
It's a multi-sensory experience. The
exactly.
smell of the book, the touch of it, the sound of the pages turning.
Exactly, and all of those things aid recall and make the experience much more fulfilling and better. And so I wanted to do a book that did that to its maximum capability. So I designed a book with careful thought to the font and the layout and the size and the feel and all that sort of thing. And
so you think that real books still have a place and that e-books aren't necessarily the only future?
Oh, definitely. In fact, most electronic media is weaker in communication than real media. The same for music. Electronic music is weaker than live music, and I think the future is real. It's not electronic.
Right.
Even though music's going through a particular hard time, I think that's going to change. And books have certainly shown no sign of dying out.
Excellent. Okay, Mark.
Thank you.